Oh. Hey, Bryce. Bryce, I can't hear you, and your video is not on.
How about that?
Aha, I can hear you, and now I can see you.
Okay,
Hello.
great. Hey,
Hey, how's
Kelly.
it going?
Good.
Good.
How's your day been?
Oh, pretty busy, man. Yeah, pretty busy. Looking forward
Productive
to being
anyway?
off screens and eventually.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, how's your day?
It's been good. It's been good. Got to prepare for this a little bit. And what else did we do? We went to Cottonwood Falls for a second to look at an antique store.
Very nice. They have a few of those.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
were you able to eat at Keller Feed and Wine while you were in town?
So, that's the plan for tonight.
Ah,
If it's open. Yeah.
cool.
You recommend it?
Absolutely, yes. The only issue is I don't know when they're open these days.
Yeah, I don't think anyone does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
The antique store was right next door, and the guy who owns it had, being even right next door, had no idea what the schedule was. So
Yeah, I think it's a pretty small family run operation, so they probably just try to, I don't know, make do
yeah,
with whatever they can do, I guess.
yeah, just like the rest of us. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, do you want to go ahead and maybe just try the screen share thing real fast?
yeah, yes,
Um,
that is a great idea. So it
and
says host disabled attendee
so
screen
let
share.
me go ahead and make you a co-host. Okay, and now do you
Okay,
have an option?
let me see. Ah, yes. Okay, so so
Cool.
here, can you see that? Even if
Yep.
I put in the view mode like that?
Yep. And now it's just full screen, one image at a time. So yeah.
Okay,
Perfect.
great, great.
Okay.
Now let me figure out how to turn that off. Oh, here we are. Your screen sharing stop. Okay,
Perfect.
okay, great.
Okay. Very good. Well, we have one person in the waiting room, but it is my grandmother.
Oh, good. Fantastic. My mom's coming on too, so.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'll let her in and we can,
Yeah, when she gets there.
yeah. That's fine. She's muted. Hi, Mimi. I just let you in. Oh, well, have you had any good storms since you've been in town, Bryce?
Oh, it's great that you asked that because the other night, well, yeah, the question is yeah. And of course, like you can see three of them at one time from out in the front, which is totally different than I'm used to. But the other night, a thunderstorm came through, and with the train that goes by here, it is a terrifying experience.
Yeah.
Not
Wow.
really terrifying, but to have the house. Fortunately, it wasn't like the first night we were here,
Yeah.
but have the place rattling like that with the train coming by and then the thunder and lightning. It's an awesome experience.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I've never been down there in the middle of like a really good storm. So,
Yeah, I don't know if it was like a really good one, but there was lightning and loud thunder, and it was
yeah, got the job done.
yeah, it did. Yeah, Yeah. Hey, Derek. I recognize you.
Hello. Yeah. So I'm signed in as Tallgrass Artist Residency. Is that
Yeah, we
okay?
both are, but I just changed my name.
Oh, okay.
We can both be Tallgrass Residency. It's okay.
I guess that makes sense. I didn't realize that one could, like, that one, yeah, like one account could be signed in twice, but I guess that makes sense.
I've run into that with another organization that I'm a part of. So
One of your many.
I always sign in as another human, and it gets confusing when that human is already on the call.
Right.
That's funny.
And yeah, I'll have to try to remember. I mean, I think, so Bryce, I don't know if Kelly filled you in on this, but our last one of these got nefariously bombed by inappropriate
Oh.
content and video and such. So we'll have to see as people come on. I may have put things a little bit draconian as like the default, just to try to do that. We did do we had to like manually approve everyone who registered for it this time. So I'm hoping that just helped a little bit.
Can people unmute themselves though?
So that's what I'm trying to remember, because that was 2 weeks ago and a lot has entered my brain. I mean, I think they're all muted by default, but
I mean, I made Bryce a co-host after he signed on, and he unmuted himself, right? Bryce, did you? I think your video and audio was off on default when you joined.
It was off, but I was able to unmute and turn the video on right away.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. And I mean, we can also, you can remove any person from the room if we need to.
What happened?
Yeah, well, we can go into it later. But the thing about the removing one person from the room thing is that whoever managed to pull off this little caper, I mean, I don't think it was someone that we knew. I think it was kind of a randomized thing, but they were changing their name over and
logging back in.
You couldn't. No, like within the thing.
Oh, so
my sense is that
they wouldn't stay in one place long enough for you to kick them out.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out, and they were like, I feel like they were like changing their name to the name of other people that were in the meeting.
Oh.
Is what it like it would briefly appear for a second, but it would say like a person's name that I knew.
Oh, weird.
On the screen, and I'm like, but that's not that. Like, I mean, it was, yeah. I think there was a little bit of automated stuff going on, so I'm hoping that the stuff that we did to stop it will work just that it wouldn't happen again, but I don't know.
I wonder.
It was the worst experience in my life, probably. I've had a pretty easy life, but.
Sorry, I broke Derek.
No, it's good. I kind of figured too, I don't know, did you make me, you made, I guess I was a co-host because I logged in as the residency. Yeah. I was going to say, if you worry about running the meeting, I'll kind of watch the
deal.
Try to keep a better eye on that, because.
Well, I wonder too, I can see an option here to allow participants to rename themselves, which is unchecked right now.
Right. That was one of the things I turned off because of that. But
okay, cool.
Maybe we could ask. Yeah, there's a Nancy Hall here.
That is my grandma. She is legit.
Okay. Is she watching? Well, can she unmute herself?
Mimi, can you unmute yourself? You have to click on the microphone.
Is it okay now? I just clicked on. Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Or where do I undo that?
You click on the video icon.
Okay, it's right next to it. I'll do that. Heavens.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Well, good. Okay. Well, you've been a wonderful test here of whether people will be able to do that. So thanks for helping us out.
We changed some settings, Mimi. So that's why. Yeah, that's why it was a little different from some other Zooms that you've been in.
Okay, that's fine.
But it's all good.
That's good.
I like that you and Derek have matching yellow shirts on today.
Yeah, we did that on purpose.
I'm wearing this is a brand new shirt. I just received it as a gift today from my colleague. So it was ones that her daughter made as a fundraiser. She was moving to Germany. So they say Grace Deachin, Lawrence, Kansas's 10th best artist, dead last and proud of it, baby. So
Well, you go well in that color. So
well, this is my favorite color. So
not everyone can pull off a mustard yellow too. So that's good.
have any of you ever done the like Color Me Beautiful thing where you like find out what colors are supposed to go with your skin tone? Or
no, how does one do that?
there's people who you can take some like tests online or whatever, but like where you submit, I don't know how you submit a photo or something, but there's people who are like consultants for this.
true.
So I have an artist friend from Nebraska that I kind of said it as a joke, and she was like, "Oh, I did that," and it's like why I wear the colors that I wear. Like she wears all black with like little pops of bright red, and I just thought she was like super cool and like like she was into like metal music in high school or something like that. And she's like, "Oh no, I used to wear all neutrals, and then I did Color Me Beautiful, and now I wear all black."
It makes a difference.
But what if your soul is like a different color palette from your physical attributes?
Yeah, I mean, go for it, but it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I will say I have a particular brown shirt that I have stopped wearing because way back when I worked at Hallmark, I was in the cubicle one time and I stood up, and this very loud coworker from across the whole office was like, "Derek, are you not wearing a shirt?" And like it was apparently just like sort of in the summertime, like a perfect blend with my complexion. So I was like, okay, that's a weird shirt to wear. That sends the wrong message. So.
That is true. That is true. I stay away from those skin color neutrals sometimes for that reason, because from a distance, sometimes you can't tell. And I don't want to be in that situation.
Yes, exactly.
Welcome, everyone. As a few of you are signing on, you will notice that you are automatically muted. You're welcome to unmute yourself if you want to say hi or not. It's up to you. But I think we're supposed to have about 22 people joining us for the talk today. So we'll probably have a flurry of folks signing on here.
And if not, that's okay.
Bryce doesn't want to know the numbers. It's okay. Bryce, you can change your speaker view so you can't see how many people there are. Yeah.
I don't know what's better. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, maybe also as people are signing on, we could use the chat box just to say hi and where we're calling in from today. That might be neat. I'll do it too.
This is all new to me. I need to.
There is a little icon in the center bottom that says chat, and you just click on that and it pops out to the right.
Cool. That's cool. Okay, this is the side.
Good.
So Nancy, Kelly's grandma, where are you calling in from?
I'm calling from Plano, Texas.
Whew.
And believe it or not, it is 104 degrees here.
Oh, I believe it.
I have the air conditioner running constantly. I watered the flowers early today.
What's the streak been? How many days has it gotten over 100?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, Nancy.
What
Sorry.
did you say? I didn't.
I was wondering how many days it's gotten over 100 this summer.
I'm not sure, but it's going to stay several days this week, and then we'll have a lower 90 some next week. It'll be more livable, but it's been up about 5 days into the unreal zone.
That's crazy. I lived in Denton for a few years, going to school there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I moved there. Okay, so I moved there from Connecticut.
Aha.
I moved there in January. And so when I left Connecticut, it was like 30 degrees and there was snow on the ground and ice. And I'd been living in a drafty old apartment, and I was so ready to get away from the winter. And we drove in and hit like Texarkana, and it was like 70 degrees. And I thought, this is it. This is where I want to be. And then it was like April and like in the 90s. And I said, when's it going to cool down again? And they said, oh no, it won't cool down over. And it'll only cool down at night, and it will, it'll be in the 90s at night in the summer. So, and I thought
that's different. Well, I lived in Rhode Island for about 8 years. Loved it in New England, though. I really like New England.
Oh, that's great.
However, I'm from West Virginia. So.
Okay. Yeah, north.
All sorts
south.
of different climates.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, we've had a few more folks join us. Welcome all who are just signing on. We are kind of using the chat box here on the side to say hi to each other. You're probably automatically muted, at least when you sign in here, but you have control over muting or unmuting yourself. But feel free to say hi in the chat box and where you're calling in from today. That might be neat.
I think I see my mom on.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. She's muted though.
Well, we might go ahead and get started since it's a few minutes after 4, but I think we'll probably have some more folks signing on here in the next couple minutes. So we'll just let them in as they come. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Kelly Yarbrough. I help run the Tallgrass Artist Residency Program along with my colleague Derek Ham in Matfield Green, who's also on this call. The Tallgrass Artist Residency, this is our 5th year of the program. We're a relatively small artist residency program that's based in the very small community of Matfield Green, Kansas, which is kind of in the heart of the Flint Hills of Kansas, a very special ecosystem. And the program basically invites 8 to 9 artists each year to come out and spend 2 weeks in residence in Matfield Green, really enriching their practice, whatever that practice may be. The residency is open to artists of all disciplines. And we have a couple of past residents on the call with us today, so that's neat to see. But we really, we invite artists that have a deep sense of place and who are interested in exploring our place here and kind of participating in a contemporary dialogue around place and art making. So that's kind of what we're about. We are a partner program with the Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission, the State Arts Commission, which is also partially funded by the NEA. So we're very fortunate to be part of those organizations. So today we are here with Bryce Lafferty, who is actually, he represents a new category of resident for us this year. In the past, the residency program has accepted applications from artists that live in the North American Prairie region. That's kind of an interesting geographic stipulation that we've had in the past in order to kind of foster this conversation within this particular eco-region. But we've had a lot of interest from artists outside of that region that want to come to Matfield Green in the Flint Hills. So this year we actually established an eco-region exchange residency slot. And so Bryce from Alabama is actually our eco exchange artist this year. Yeah, woo. And of course, you know, 2020 being what it is, the program has looked a little different than it has in the past. Although really all things considering, I would say the individual artist experience is perhaps not that different, because Matfield Green is a pretty rural place, and you have a lot of space to spread out. So this programming aspect is a little different. We're doing online programs with each of our artists this year, but it's been really great so far, I think, to be able to offer this to folks from different states, different places, different time zones, and connect with our artists. So thank you all for being here again. Thank you, Bryce, for taking time to do this today. Basically the format of today, well, I'm just going to open it up with a couple of basic questions and invite Bryce to kind of talk about his practice and his time in Matfield Green. But then we'll have plenty of time later for you all to ask questions as well, and I encourage you to do that. Derek and I will kind of be monitoring the chat box a little bit here too, so if you have a question maybe while Bryce is talking and you want to type it in the chat box, we can come back to it later, but we can also do live Q&A later as well too. So Bryce, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you kind of introduce yourself and maybe share a bit about where you're coming from and your practice, and tell us what the residency's been like so far.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for that introduction. And I just want to say, as I'm starting here, I feel so fortunate to be an artist in residence here. There are a lot of residency programs out there, and I think a lot of them probably got canceled. And I think that I wouldn't want to be in a lot of them. And this has just been so perfect. Really, I've felt so comfortable here, meeting you and Derek and Bill and Julia McBride, and people are so friendly here. It's just the perfect level of isolation that works good with the pandemic. And I just feel so fortunate. I feel really like I've been given a gift that I don't necessarily deserve, but I'm going to take it anyway, and I'm going to take all the good things that come with it. So Kelly, thanks for organizing this. Derek, thanks for organizing this, and thanks for having us over at your house. And thanks, Bill and Julia, for hosting us here. I also have to thank Bill McBride, who owns this place. Bill and Julia own this place that we're staying. It's beautiful. I'm just enamored with this life here among this rich, growing tall grass. But Bill rescued me one day. I was out painting on one of these dirt roads, kind of like away from everyone in the middle of nowhere, and I ran my battery down running the air conditioning on my car, and he came out and saved me. So I'm especially grateful to him for doing that. I think that I'll start the conversation and just talk a little bit about my portfolio and maybe some of the experiences that I've had here on the artist residency, and show you just a few things that I've been able to create during this time. So the conversation with me as an artist always comes down to where is my energy going and where is my time going? I'm a dad, and I'm a professor, and I'm a homeowner, and there are so many things in this world I have a responsibility for, and also I want to do. So I find that I'm constantly asking myself, what does it mean to be an artist? And I sort of have, and it changes for me depending on my circumstances, but I want to share with you first what I believe an artist is, or who I am as an artist. It may be different for other people, and that's totally acceptable. But for me, being an artist means having space and time to be able to create art, which is not something all of us have the luxury for. I haven't created any artwork since March. I just haven't been able to do that, with the pandemic and my children out of school, and, just so many responsibilities. For me, creating art means other people finding some value in what I'm doing. I find a lot of value in it, but, if my kids like it, if my girlfriend likes it, if the important people in my life like it, then that has some more meaning to me. And so the third thing that I think I need to have to feel like like I can do art is for it to make some money. That sounds like terrible, doesn't it? But I feel like if I'm gonna spend this time making this artwork and it's taking me away from my family or other things that are important, I need it to give me something back. I need to be able to put something back in the pot with it. I see teaching as an extension of being an artist, and that's been my list for a long time. And if I can check off most of those boxes, I don't feel like it's too much of an indulgence to do art. But I've added one more thing to my list, and I did it today, and I think it's a good one, and I have no idea why I haven't put it on there, but I think making art should be a pleasure. It should be enjoyable, and that hasn't been on my list, but I think part of this artist residency has taught me that that's okay. It's okay to enjoy it. So, I'd like to show you some of my artwork, if I can, some of my portfolio. So I'm going to share my screen. Kelly and Derek, you guys can tell me if it works here. So can you guys see this?
Yep, good.
Okay, great. Okay, so I've just put together some slides for y'all to see. And so this is a picture of me just doing some watercolors just outside Matfield Station. And this was actually last night. It was about 8 o'clock. And it just felt so good to be outside, so great to be making art, so nice to be surrounded in this beautiful place. And again, it kind of goes back to this idea of like, why am I doing this? Well, it's just so enjoyable. It's so nice. And here's some work from my portfolio. So just to give you some background on my work, I work in watercolor mainly, and there's a few reasons why I like to do this. Number one, watercolor has this luminosity to it. I just love the way color seems to bounce off the white of the paper. I also love how watercolor kind of disperses in a wash, and it mixes and mingles and creates interesting textures almost all on its own. And I really like it for its connection to drawing and the ability to create lots of detail with it. So I choose to work in watercolor. I've worked in other media like oil paint, printmaking, digital stuff, and those are all great, but I've just never found another medium that moves as quick as I need it to and gets that level of detail I want and that level of finish I want, like watercolor does. So that's why I use it. I also work in cross sections a lot in my work. I'll show you some more slides in a minute, but I just love the way this sort of scientific illustration approach can take apart the landscape and start to tell more conceptual stories about the landscape. And I think I am a landscape artist. I think primarily that's what my subject matter is. I enjoy going to a place, experiencing it. So I did a lot of sitting in grass this week, and experiencing the sun and the wind and different weather conditions. And I just love that. I love all those different feelings and sounds, and trying to internalize those. And then what I usually do is I'll try to learn about a place through reading or documentaries. Usually it's some kind of scientific writing, which I always find just enriches my understanding and gives me some background on a place. And then my artwork, I think what I'm trying to do is synthesize these things, like take these memories and these experiences and this scientific knowledge or even philosophical knowledge that, that I'm reading about, that other people have discovered or created or, put down in words. And I'm trying to bring these things together, visually. And so this small painting here is one of 4. It's pretty small. It's like maybe 9 by 12 inches. I call it Sand Rock. And this is a night scene, believe it or not. And this tells the story of a place in Alabama near where I am. And I'm trying to do a few things. I'm trying to synthesize a few things. It's a rocky place. It's made up of sandstone that's really hard, and there's been a lot of erosion. So there's like fissures and exposed layers of sediment, and caves and all sorts of places to explore. But there's also these beautiful views of the sky from this area. And there's like this 4th dimensional aspect to the landscape where it is what it is now, but it once used to exist underwater, under a shallow sea, much like parts of Kansas have. And so I'm trying to tell all these stories all at once, what it looks like now, what it has been, being able to see the sky and the rocks. So I'm kind of conflating all these things together and trying to make an image that maybe tells all these stories in an interesting, different way. And so this one is called Sand Rock at night. And I can't quite, let me see if I can go through these. Yeah, there we go. And this one is same thing, sort of the Sand Rock series. This one is at midday. This one is in the morning time. And this is in the evening at sunset. So again, just a small series that I did, sort of just trying to show you guys like how I like to work. Here's another watercolor that I did. I call these drawings, but they are made with watercolor. And the reason I call them drawings is because I really feel like by the time I'm done with the preliminary sketch, I've done 90% of the creative work with these things. So this is the biggest one I've ever created. This one's almost 8 feet wide. And it sort of tells the story of, and I did really want to make a huge one, right? Because typically you think of watercolor as small, right? And I wanted to make one that kind of filled your vision and you could kind of zone in on and look at individual parts, much like these Hudson River School paintings that are big and take up a lot of your visuals, a lot of which take up a lot of your cone of vision. And but I also just needed a big space to tell this story. This is sort of about the first time I ever took a journey west and saw the West Coast, and it sort of tracked the journey from the salt flats, the salt deserts in Utah, up over the Sierra Nevadas and the Cascades, and down to the coast and visiting the redwoods. So I sort of needed a lot of space to tell that story. And in fact, this one's in a virtual show at the Wiregrass Museum in Alabama right now. So this is one based on Glacier National Park, which I did an artist residency at in 2016. And something about that place that's really interesting is just the way water, the process of water there, how it's stored in these glaciers, it melts and it keeps water going all year round to this wonderful place, and trying to show that. And then this one's based in Alabama. We have this wonderful ecosystem in the South called the longleaf pine ecosystem, or the flatwoods. And when I was reading about the artist residency here, the tallgrass artist residency, and about the tallgrass ecosystem and how it once covered this enormous geographic range, and now, you know, it's conserved in only very small pockets, and the Flint Hills being like, you know, one of the big small pockets. It reminded me so much of the longleaf pine ecosystem, which used to stretch across all of the South, from Texas to like the Carolinas. And it was this wonderful park-like ecosystem with these trees that were spaced far apart and these beautiful longleaf pine trees. And, you know, longleaf pine trees are just amazing. The needles on them are like 16 inches long. They're incredible. And fire, much like the tallgrass prairie, was a really important part of that ecosystem. It would sweep in every few years and clear out all the woody plants except for the longleaf pines, and it would allow all these grasses and forbs to flourish and grow. So, you know, Alabama has this really, really rich biodiversity because of this ecosystem, which has been conserved in these small pockets. So I felt like I could relate on at least that level to like the tall grass ecosystem when I started, or when I was applying for it. To tell you a little bit about the experience that I've had here, it's been a whirlwind. It's been fast and slow at the same time. The first full day we got here, we trekked out to the Tallgrass Preserve just north of Matfield Green, and being from, you know, the Northeast, and being from and living in Alabama right now, when we go hiking, it's in the summer, in August, it's you know, in 100% humidity. You know, there might be a thunderstorm that just comes out of nowhere and hits us. It's all under trees, and it's totally different than hiking in the prairie, which is in the sun, and you can see exactly where you're going, and it looks like it's close, but it's really miles in the distance. And you know, you need to bring more water than you're prepared for. And it was just a fantastic experience that kind of got us into this. And my goal of this residency was to create at least one finished watercolor like the ones I just showed you. But I soon realized that just wasn't going to happen. If I was going to create one of those at a medium-sized scale, I would have to sit inside most of the time and do that. And being in this beautiful place with so many things to absorb and see, and so much I didn't understand, there was just no way I could, with any sort of, you know, truth to it or honesty to it, actually, you know, finish one of those during this day. So I got out a lot. I took tons of pictures, did a lot of sketching, and began to do some color studies, which I found that I started to really enjoy, and became an opportunity to experiment with like different types of brushwork and different colors. And originally I was just making these color studies that I could take home. Many of you guys know that, you know, your camera can be really useful, but it can be really deceptive too, right? It doesn't register all the colors that maybe a painter's palette can. And so it started that way, but I wound up doing 12 of these really quick studies on location, and they quickly became like about way more than just the color. So I'll show you some of these, and these are all done again on location, and they became more about like different times of day, different types of weather. I found like I was like waking up at 6 in the morning, like really ready to get outside and just see what the light looked like. Near the end, like last night, I was staying out late until like 8:30 or 9 just to see what it looked like. I mean, I knew what it looked like outside, but to stay outside and paint actually in that different light. So this was one from last night, and you know, trying to show the stars and darkness, and again, like painting at night by the light of my phone and looking outside, it was just like a little bit crazy. And again, it's become a lot about the brushwork. This was one like at 6 in the morning, when I was just getting up, and this one just like really evolved. Like it was so windy, and I was struggling with like how to represent that wind sweeping across this prairie. And I was thinking about other artists that I know and how they represent it, and it just sort of evolved. So it's been wonderful, like experimenting with this different brushwork and working loosely and joyfully and just being in the moment. And I'm you know, for what they are, I'm pretty happy with these 12 pieces. This one was early in the morning when it was really foggy and very wet out. And this one was at night, basically just right after sunset. So, and here's the picture of them on the floor. Sorry for, I just took this with my phone, but that's the grouping of it. And then I keep a sketchbook. So, I keep it for several different reasons. One is like, again, that problem with the camera, like depth of field and color. I want to be able to like understand these forms that I'm looking at. And, I'm looking at plants, and honestly, I feel like I could have taken any one aspect of this landscape and just zeroed in on it like the whole 10 days I've been here. I could have just zeroed insects or grasses or flowers or even just the sky, just like looking at the different personalities and characteristics of the sky. So I have felt a little bit like a crazy person, just like going one direction and the other, like whatever is interesting. So I'll use the sketchbook to sort of like try to like focus a little bit and take the time to really understand what some things look like and how they behave. And again, like I could take pictures of these, but I think a lot of detail and a lot of that investigation gets lost with the quickness of a camera. And so some of my studies are just straight up drawing. Sometimes I'll take a lot of notes. Like we went outside and enjoyed the meteor shower one night, and I can't tell you how long it's been since I've seen the Milky Way even, and just wanting to like remember like that experience of like seeing these things and being with the person I'm with, and the humidity and the bugs like attacking my face because of the lamp I was wearing on my head, and laying down in the grass, and the feeling of that warm wind from the south coming over. Like all these things are just wonderful memories, and trying to write those down. And then I also use the sketchbook to kind of try to organize myself visually, to try to bring all these things together and try to make it work compositionally, or like in a design that I could then tackle in a more late laborious, like finished piece. And so I think I've come up with like a couple sketches that I am really looking forward to take home and like finishing out and hopefully showing at the symposium this spring. So I'll show you some of those. I think like this one's getting a little bit closer there. And some of these are playing with like different compositions. I'd like to try to play with this sketch. This one's, sort of got that windswept hilltop, cross section of like the ground, maybe an indication of the inland sea that used to cover this area. There's fossils like everywhere. This one I'm trying to deal with too. I found like the challenge for me has been 4 things. Number one, the sky. I was talking with Kelly a little bit before, earlier this morning in preparation for this Q&A, and I was trying to express how I feel about the sky here. It's just so different than in the East or in the South, where you can almost consider it like this 2-dimensional backdrop behind trees. Here it feels like this 3-dimensional thing that surrounds you and that you are in. So like you're like standing on the prairie and you are like in the sky, like where that prairie ends at your hip, like that top part of you is in the sky. And how do I represent that? Like almost like, because I like to represent things like almost in an architectural way. How do I represent that 3-dimensional sky like around you? Another challenge has been, and this goes back to like this architecture thing that I'd like to, sort of superimpose over the landscape, is it is so empty here and so expansive, and yet it's really not empty. It's minutely detailed. There is such this extreme between these two things, this like openness and this like filled with this extreme amount of detail. Like any square inch you look at has its own universe. So that's been wonderful, and that's so different than Alabama, which is like you step off a trail and you can see 15 feet in every direction because it's so dense with trees and foliage. And then I think like the fourth dimensional aspect of the landscape here has really been interesting to me, like that idea of time. And I have found so many fossils just since I've been here. Like the record of this, the history of this place is written all over it, and the way the topography is and what you find on the ground. And then I think the fourth thing that I'm carrying back with me, and I keep thinking, I wonder how I could apply this at home or how it has been applied, is the harmony here in the Flint Hills between like the natural processes of the landscape, like this grazing, this fire, you know, like sort of like this process that's been maintaining the prairie ecosystem for, you know, 10,000 years is still there, but it's managed in such a way that humans live here and thrive here, and there's an economy that is directly related to that. And I think, you know, like even in agriculture, so many times these things are totally divorced. I just love how there's this harmony here, and I mean, there must be other examples of this in the world, and certainly in Alabama too, but it really has made me think, like, how can this be applied other places successfully? So anyway, those are some of my thoughts, and thank you all for joining me here for this Q&A and paying attention to that rambling spiel I just did. And does anyone have any questions? Or Kelly, do you want to take over?
Well, thanks, Bryce. That was really lovely. What a nice bit of insight into your work and your time. Yeah, that's cool. I know we talked a little bit, but it's really nice to see sort of the breadth of what you do, because, you know, as we have this application process, so we get to see images that artists will submit, right? And so we've seen some of your finished compositions, and, you know, when you said that you wanted to produce one of those in your residency, I mean, the residency is 10 days long for everyone who isn't familiar here, which is not a long time. And so, you know, there's no right way to do it, of course, but as the residency administrator, I will say I support your decision to spend more time outside in the landscape than trying to force yourself to produce this thing. But it's really nice to see, I think, how you can be loose and spontaneous with the colors, and then in your watercolor sketches, and then see what those things could possibly turn into, or how you think differently when you're doing those developed compositions.
Yeah, thanks. And I think, you know, I think one thing that's going to come out of this is like having that time to experiment in that way, that brushwork and color. I'm interested in bringing more of that into these more finished ones too, and seeing how that kind of plays. Yeah.
I'm curious. I will ask one question here, and then I think people are probably jumping at the bit to ask you questions. So I'll bow out after that. But I am kind of curious to know, I mean, hearing you kind of talk about the different things that are represented in your finished compositions, I mean, no wonder it would take you a long time to do. Like, there's so much information that's synthesized into the imagery, and it is a 4-dimensional experience there too. I guess I'm curious to know if some of those other compositions started with more fluid sketches like you were doing here, or if I guess just how those come about.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I usually it's all the sketching I do is in graphite on paper, just pen and pencil, or pencil and paper. And so those loose watercolors were really kind of a departure and, you know, an offshoot. And but you know, I call my finished pieces, I mean, you can call them paintings if you want to. They're obviously painted, and that doesn't offend me one bit. But publicly, I call them drawings, you know, that are finished in watercolor, again, because like sometimes I can come up with a composition right off the bat, but usually it's this process of like sketch after sketch after sketch after sketch, where I'm trying different things out, like basically experimenting. And you know, it can sometimes take, it never takes as long to do those sketches as it does to do the finished one, but there can be 20 or 30 sketches just for one of those finished pieces. And that's an enjoyable process. That's where the things get synthesized. That's where I feel like I can be really creative. And but that's why I call them drawings there. Yeah. So in the past, not much. You know, those loose watercolors haven't been a part of my practice really. And so I am excited to see where some of that brushwork fits in, where some of that, you know, more expressive, loose mixing might work its way into these finished things. I'm really excited to try that out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, speaking of brushwork, I did notice that there's kind of a comment question from Fran, I think, in the chat box, saying, I have so many questions about the brushes. Fran, did you want to explain that anymore, or just kind of let Bryce talk about brushes?
Well, I putter a little bit with watercolor, and I noticed the big strokes across some, and others looked almost as though the brush was almost dry, or
yeah.
Done with like a toothbrush or something.
Yeah. So do you want, I'll show you the brushes that I have if you want. These are just the ones that I packed with me. Okay, so here is this is a pointed mop brush. So the one I have at home is squirrel hair. This is like some synthetic thing, but this is really nice and versatile. You know, this has a little bit too much snap than I want it to, you know, a little too much resiliency, but you know, it's got this like very large, broad, you know, way of putting down the paint, and then it can get really, you know, like fine detailed too. And then if you use it like a dry brush, it can get even more interesting. But my basic brushes that I've used are just like a 1-inch flat, you know, with like a mixed sort of semi, you know, part synthetic and part natural hair. And then just like a number 8 round and number 6 round and a number 3 round. So just, you know, just really standard brushes. So
it's the way you handle them, though.
And yeah, and I'm trying to, you know, I guess they like those watercolors sort of evolved into like, okay, how can I make a mark that doesn't look like, you know, a mark that comes from a flat or from just a round. You know, I'm trying to like move my wrist and play with the amount of paint in it and the texture of the paper, and trying to make something that feels kind of authentic or uncommon for the brush that I'm using. So there's some intentional trying to do that, but I'm glad you picked up on that.
Well, some of the big strokes remind me of the sumi-e and the ink calligraphy, where they do huge figures. But it's not a sopping wet brush. You have to have it just right to make it go where you want it.
Those are hard brushes to use, and I'm not good at it. I had a professor at the University of North Texas. His name was Rob Ertl, and he was just this master watercolor. I almost want to show you some of his work, but I don't want it to like put my work in bad light, because it's just so amazing. But if you get a chance to look up his work, his name is Rob Ertl, and he could handle all these brushes, and his brush work is just amazing. And I was thinking of a lot of his work when I was doing these. So, those things come to mind, right? People that we've learned from and seen.
Some of the dry brush almost reminded me. Recently, I made some fabric masks for my granddaughter. She wanted a cheetah face. And in order to get the fur effect without blocking the cloth, I used a toothbrush, a dry toothbrush, and it was almost as dry as some of your strokes. So I was really wondering.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's awesome. That's great. To hope hope it was an old toothbrush.
Oh yes. Never throw them away.
Right. Well, thanks for that question, Fran.
Well, if anyone else has a question, you're welcome to unmute yourself and speak up if you'd like, or you can utilize the chat box to type a question. Oh, I have more questions. I'm just trying to be polite.
Oh,
Am I on?
oh, hey, yeah, Bill.
Oh, yeah. I just, it's not a question, it's just a compliment. I'm so proud that you've done this work here. I thought the watercolors were very, the brushwork was very, very beautiful. So
Thanks, Bill.
I'm pleased. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. Bill's an artist, for anyone who doesn't know, and he showed me around his studio and some of his work. In fact, this piece behind me, that's yours, right, Bill?
Yes.
Yeah. So that means a lot to me coming from you.
Good. No, you deserve it.
Thanks.
Do I have to do something here?
I think you're good.
Well, I'll ask another question if no one else is jumping in here. Thinking more about all the information that's sort of in your finished drawings. I'm curious to know if you are very influenced by like scientific illustration or mapping diagrams, like that. It seems like there's some relationship there, but it's also very imaginative too.
Yeah. I guess. Okay, so here's something that I'll admit. So throughout all school, like elementary school, middle school, high school, I had a horrible time learning. Like I was like in like those special reading classes and all these things. But the one class that I always was able to succeed in was science. I just loved it. I just was able to understand those concepts for some reason and process them and succeed in those classes. And so yeah, I mean, if I couldn't do art, I would love to, I still would just love to be, involved in some way in the sciences, either biology or geology or some kind of ecology. I just really, really enjoy learning about the natural world and seeing those hidden processes come to light through the scientific method. I don't think that I have an organized enough brain for it, but I love it. Like the people I follow on Instagram, yeah, sure, I have like artists in there, but I love seeing like these scientists posts come through so that I can read them and just like, I don't know, there's something about looking out on the landscape, and not only is it beautiful, but you can you start to see like that hidden part of it, and it makes it even more beautiful. That history that's gone into shaping that hillside, or the process of evolution that created those different species of plants and why they are able to live in that type of soil with that amount of light. And so it's one thing to just see it visually, but then to understand it, it's like it just is so much more of an enriching experience.
I love the four-dimensional quality of those pictures that show underneath, that show when there was an ocean, that show the layerings of the rock. That's just fantastic.
Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate that. And sometimes, I think, oh, no one's going to get this, or maybe I'm making this like way too complicated. But you know, those are just things that probably go through every artist's mind is when they're creating. But I appreciate that you find something of value in it. So
I'm sorry if I interrupted. Do you ever put like living creatures or people in these drawings?
so
What
like
kind of challenge is that?
so like draw them in it or actually put them on it?
Incorporate them in any way.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so my grandfather is an artist, and he, oh man, so this is one reason why I love, you know, like why I've become an artist, because it was always something that was valued, you know. And he had this interesting style of these landscapes with these barns, and every once in a while he would put a figure in it, and I love his work, but if I'm honest, I always felt like the figures that he put in his landscapes changed his landscapes totally. They, like, all of a sudden they had like this sense of scale that was different. And for some reason, the figures, the people always looked lonely to me. I don't know why. He wasn't like a lonely man or anything like that. Like, I don't think it was like this subconscious thing projected onto it. But like, so I've sort of just kind of, I think that's probably why I don't put like figures in it. I have put animals every once in a while, but again, it like sort of like does something to the scale. It like, it really fixes the scale. So like when you're trying to do an ocean under a rock layer and all this stuff, and you'd think a tree would do that, but it doesn't. It kind of, I haven't been able to figure that one out yet. I would love to, and I think I'm gonna try again someday. But there's a challenge there, and I don't really want my pieces to be about that yet. Maybe someday they will be, but right now, you know, I'm focusing on other things and not that scale thing at this point. But thanks for that question. What's your name?
Leslie, sorry. Yeah.
Thanks, Leslie. Thanks for that question.
Thank you. Well, you mentioned you mentioned like Bierstadt and those painters, and sometimes they would have the very, very small men talking about Manifest Destiny or something. And
or cows or buffalo. I think there's might be some buffalo in some of these coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question to Leslie's question, actually. Hi, Leslie. I am a poet, so I think about this all the time. So this might be more of a poet question than like a painter or drawer. I don't know what the word would be.
I don't know.
But
Drawer, person.
So you're not including people in your drawings. I'm wondering how you mediate your own embodied experience in the work you're creating.
Oh, man.
I think about this as a poet a lot, because when I try to take myself out of that, it almost feels like more of an assertion, like kind of a godlike artist view. And that was weird too. So yeah, it's a really broad conceptual question, but in general, and I'm wondering how you talked a little bit about how your experience at the Prairie and during the summer. I was there the same time last year, so I know what it's and how that's changing your practice. So how that's also shaping.
Okay, so Megan, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, yeah. Thanks for that. And I think that is something, man, I want to, the way you frame that question, like how do you mediate your own body's experience in it? That's something I would love to think about more, especially the way you frame that. And immediately the thing that came to mind is, when I am sitting down to sketch and remembering these experiences, I'm remembering how that sunlight felt on me. I'm remembering how that wind felt on me, or that water, or, you know, and this might be weird too, but I kind of empathize a bit with like the stuff that's going on there. So like when I see that plant life kind of growing out of some water and it's green, I'm like, oh, that must be so refreshing or something, you know, on a hot day. So I don't know. I do know, like, the way I'm painting is from an overview looking down. And I think that's a common thing when artists are working from memory, you know, like you're saying, like that godlike view, like looking back at it, looking down, having control over it. So I think it's like, I mean, I don't really know how to answer your question other than it's, on the one hand, it's totally about this experience. I don't think I can do one that has any integrity without sitting in a place, without feeling it all over my body, without getting fatigued out there and just being immersed in it. And yet, I think I totally do distance myself from it when I'm painting it, like, oh, this is an architectural space and this is how I'm rendering it. So yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a sterileness to my finished paintings, I think, in that way, which, you know, I don't know if that's good or bad, but thanks for getting me to think more about that.
On the 12 kind of, I think you called them studies, so they seem like more than studies. They have a different feel. There's a way that I felt like I, like, physically on the scale of the space or something. There seemed like there's something different going on there, which is part of what they're so compelling, kind of in conversation with each other.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. I appreciate that feedback, because I don't yet really, I haven't had enough time with them yet to understand really what's totally going on. But it is like one, like the more finished ones are like in the studio, processing memories, looking at sketches. Those studies are in the moment. That sun is actually hitting me. I'm reacting to these things that are right in front of me that I'm feeling at that moment, and they're so much quicker and less processing. So yeah, there's something there. Thank you for that. There's a fly.
Bryce, I want to express that I really appreciate being able to hear, and it's exciting to me. I can't really express how wonderful you are with your art. You feel what you want to do, and you can paint from the very bottom down to the sky, and you can express how you're feeling. I think to me, that's really important. You just,
thank you.
All I can say is you're beautiful. It's just,
oh.
I really, the way you can detail things, the brush strokes, that is obvious. But I have one question though. Am I out of step? I saw a saddle in one of your paintings. It was the one that, well, I didn't name it, but it's the top it looked like a saddle.
Okay. I probably didn't. No, I know I didn't intend it. Sometimes, like, they call mountains, like that space between mountains, that peaks, a saddle, and maybe, you know, it kind of looked like that. I'll tell you a secret. There are some of these studies that I've done this week that if I look at them too long, I start seeing things in them, like saddles or crocodile faces or, you know, other things like that, you know, I just, you know, I don't want anyone else to see them because they're not intentional.
Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
No, you're fine.
Well, it seemed like there were Western flavors to that big painting.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love the West. I love, much like here, you know, like you can just see forever and just love that. No, I appreciate your question a lot. And, you know, I think, you know, it doesn't matter whatever someone sees in my work, that's your experience, and I have no right to dictate what someone else is seeing and how they're enjoying it. I'm putting it out there, you know, but I really appreciate your comments a lot. I certainly feel like here, you know, this isn't my place. I'm just a visitor here, and I get to experience this place and interpret it, but I definitely don't want to feel like I'm an ambassador of the tall grass prairie. You know, I'm just like a pilgrim kind of coming through here. So
I'm a novice, so it's been wonderful.
thanks.
Well, I know we're getting towards the end of the hour here, and I'm curious to know. This is a surprise for folks on the call who don't know, but Bryce's girlfriend is also there too, and she happens to be a talented illustrator and has been kind of making a little bit of work alongside too. I'm just curious if you might want to share a little bit about what you've been doing, Taylor.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Taylor, Bryce's girlfriend, as Kelly said. I was fortunate enough to be able to come on this residency with Bryce, and it's been a lot of fun and just great being able to take in this beautiful place. So I'm a designer and illustrator as well, and much like Bryce, I haven't really been able to produce much like artwork of my own. I've just had a lot of freelance work and stuff over this summer. So it's been nice coming here and being able to do that. So in my work, I've just noticed that like people and places and my memories of them, like just stick with me over time. And so I just like realize that I try to capture those moments in those places and try to hold on to those memories and things that have left like impressions on me. So I've been able to do that over my time here.
Yeah.
Which has been really nice.
You've made some really nice illustrations of Matfield Station.
Yeah. A lot of the station and some of the preserve. And so just,
Show us.
I have I'm sorry.
Show us.
Oh, well,
Grab your iPad.
I could.
If you, yeah, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. There was something on the Tallgrass residency page, though. I might be able to screen share that.
Yeah.
It is.
I think you had it on the Instagram.
Derek, if you're faster than I am, go for it.
I'm not faster than you. I was looking up while you're pulling it up. I was looking up William Blake paintings because there's something about it's kind of going back to what Megan was talking about, but like there's something about your work that's really scientific, but then because you use the watercolors, there's something that's sort of like soft and dreamlike about them too. I don't know. I was just thinking it's an interesting hybrid. So some of that, I don't know, some of that like hard, scientific cross-section thing gets kind of split up by the watercolors, I feel like. So then I was like, they remind me of the William Blake painting. Then I had to look it up to see if that made any sense. So Kelly's got it. Or
There's a little animated one.
Yeah, this is one of Taylor's illustrations she did.
Yeah, it's just a view right out from the back door here at the Matfield station, just capturing that train that's just feet away from us. So,
yeah. Do you recognize the view, Bill?
And then I think there's one more over that's on there too. It's on that same one.
Carousel. Yeah.
And that's a view. I was on the little trail out by the station and just thought that was a nice view of Matfield Station. So
nice. Very cool.
So nothing as serious as Bryce, but I enjoy making these, and the thing that I really love is the memory and then just color. I love experimenting with like unrealistic color and seeing what I can do with that. So
yeah, and you created these on the iPad Pro.
Yeah. So
cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate you jumping on. Well. Well, unless we have any last minute questions here, does anyone else have anything to add before we wrap up?
I do. This is Teresa. I was so fortunate to be able to meet the two of you at the bonfire.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, I guess I could show you there.
hey,
Oh,
there you are.
What I wanted to say was, I grew up on the Gulf Coast, and we spent 8 years in Montana near Glacier Park. Our children still live there. And when we moved here, I came kicking and screaming to the Flatlands. And it took a long time, but I worked at the Nature Center in Kansas City out in Olathe, and they had a book there written by Mary Taylor Young, Land of Earth and Sky or something. And one of the things that she said that captivated me was that there's more biodiversity in 1 square foot of prairie than there is in any other ecosystem. And so I think for me, oh no, you capture that with your dimensional drawings and the textures and the colors and the flow, and even your words, the way you describe the sky and how we all interact with it and are part of it. So I just wanted to say how much I appreciate that, because it took me a long time to appreciate it. And I love it now, and I feel at one with the earth and sky when I'm in the prairie. And while I still love the mountains, I have this huge crush on the Flint Hills, and so I appreciate being able to meet you both and seeing both of your artwork and what you've done while you're here.
Thanks for that comment. And yeah, it's really great to meet you too.
Mm-hmm.
It's been nice meeting so many people since we've been here. I
Yeah.
honestly didn't expect to meet anyone. We thought we were, coming. I mean, just because of the pandemic, but it's just been so nice. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that comment.
Well, thank you all so much for joining this talk today. Thank you to Taylor and Bryce for taking time, and y'all are headed back to Alabama tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
That's a long drive. Oh man. Well, good luck with that drive. Safe travels.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll look forward to staying in touch with you and seeing how your work develops after this.
Sounds good. Looking forward to the symposium.
Yes, absolutely. For those of you who haven't heard, we normally have all of our artists come back together to Matfield Green at one time for a group show and symposium talk, which of course cannot happen this year as scheduled, but we are rescheduling it for the spring of 2021, and we'll have more details about that coming soon. I do also want to mention that we have a couple of other artist in resident talks coming up in the next couple of weeks. Kateri Kosek is actually a writer in residence who will be coming shortly, and her talk is on the 24th of August. We just put that one on Facebook, and we'll send out emails about it. And then Lydia Cheshawala will be coming shortly after Kateri, and her talk will be on the 29th of August. So we'll post about that and send out info, save the dates on those as well. Thank you all so much, and I hope everyone has a great weekend.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.